when the agency started, we had this whole idea of like, hey, we're the non-agency. And I think pretty much every marketing agency starts out that way. Like, we're the anti-agency. It's so funny. It's so funny because we were saying the same thing. And then, slowly as we mature and we've done, hundreds of projects and engagements, we start to realize why the model is the way it is. So we've done a very good job of creating what we would consider multi-skilled people that can basically talk to a CMO at a CMO level from a strategic standpoint, and then have the ability to execute it. Maybe they can't execute it to the fullest, but they can pull all the pieces together in a much quicker way than you would do if you literally were just taking each of the pieces and parsing them out to the individual specialists, right?
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to talk about creating a team that's adaptable and they're versatile to the core. In fact, our entire episode is around leading versatile teams. Our special guest today is Chris Lee. He's the CEO of Real Access. They're a technology-focused marketing agency, B2B, lead gen. And we dive into what does it take to create a team that's adaptable and leading a versatile team. One of the things I like about the conversation, we talked about how important values are. I know that this is something that comes up a lot because I'm the one on the front lines of these interviews, but hopefully you understand that living your values is not just something you should be saying, it's something you should be doing. And expressing those throughout the organization is a woven fabric, very important. We talk about some of the details inside of that as he talks about the need inside of his organization as they adapt and grow and serve their clients, the need for leading versatile teams. When you think about your own growth and your own journey to growth and developing the culture that you want, my hope is that you are continuing to evolve yourself. You are challenging the way you used to see the world and addressing the limiting beliefs, the blind spots, if you will. Now, if you can't do that alone, which is really hard, then you can talk to me about what's going on inside your world and your leadership and culture of your fast growth company. What might be missing? Well, I'm trained to do this. It's been over 10 years working with fast growth companies from the Inc. 5000. You don't have to be a fast growth company, but you have to have the desire to evolve and grow. But I'd love to talk to you about your business. And you may also be thinking about, how do I support my team with coaching? How do I get my managers to be leaders? And how do I get them to make decisions and be confident and be more effective? Well, all of that we solve too. So two functions, executive coaching and leadership development, together really create a powerful force inside of growing companies. If you are curious about these things, make sure you go to genehammett.com, schedule a call today, get all the details you need, but I'd love to talk to you about your leadership plans and give you a plan specific to this. If you decide to work with me, great. If you decide to go and execute on that, all I ask is that you share back with me the wins and maybe even come back on the podcast and share those stories. All that being said, if you're interested, just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call. Now, here's the interview with Chris. Chris, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
We're going to have a great conversation about a versatile, talented team. Tell us about Real Access.
So we're coming on our 5th year, founded in 2018. This is actually my first official marketing job, and we are a marketing agency.
And give us a little bit more understanding about, your customers and the services you provide to those as a marketing agency.
Yeah. So when I started the business, we were primarily just a lead gen company. And it was like, literally, I'll pay X dollars for this amount of appointments. And it's evolved into a full service B2B demand gen agency, but we only work with technology companies. And just to be a little more specific about it, a lot of SaaS, a lot of IT infrastructure, cloud, AI, wireless, cybersecurity. Those are kind of the industries that we primarily stick to. That's probably 90% of our customer base.
Perfect. What do you wish your ideal clients understood about marketing that you feel like they just don't understand in this B2B demand generation world?
The biggest thing is, I don't think in B2B, so it's kind of funny, like we work in tech, but they are really lagging a lot on the technology behind marketing. And I think the biggest thing that we have to overcome is just having them understand the complexity that goes into creating a campaign, running a campaign, or driving the results that they actually need. Then the amount of different specializations that are involved. I mean, I think back in the day, a lot of these technology companies, they could have a marketing department that was filled with generalists, right? Now you need a master's degree in understanding, Google Analytics at this point, right? So the specialization that goes into it is sometimes that's a little hard to communicate, what are those specializations that are needed to get a job done.
They understand it when they hire a bunch of generalists to get it done, and all they have is pretty things that don't work.
Yeah. We were on a call today, and the customer's a generalist, and and then they come and hire us, which is great. We like it, but the issue there is that they're not armed with the information that is sometimes needed in order to have a successful partnership.
I want to switch directions with you on this, because we always talk about leadership and culture of fast growth companies. How would you frame the leadership and culture of your company that makes you guys grow so fast?
I'd say some of this is, I'm not sure I would recommend some of my things that I've done in the past,
Okay.
but one of them, I think, is just a lot of transparency. Being a young company, being very transparent of where we are, how we're making the money that we're making, how we're going to drive profitability, how we're going to deliver results to our customer. Sometimes I think that I'm a little too transparent, but that transparency has also allowed people to feel very comfortable in the roles that they play and how they can kind of contribute to that.
A lot of people probably don't get the too transparent part. I get it because I'm an executive coach. I have people that spend and invest a lot of money in me to figure out where their blind spots. You can definitely be too nice. You can be too empathetic. You can be too forgiving, too patient. But there's a right mixture in there. I think a lot of people, though, don't get the value of transparency. What has been the value for your organization?
Yeah. Just a quick comment on that. I think also the amount of how I deliver transparency changes based off of where we are as a company, the size of the company. And I think one thing I look back on that I didn't do is when we were a 12-person company, the transparency that I gave was the same transparency I gave when we became a 30-person company, and it should have changed, and it didn't change. And that's one thing that I regret.
When you go back to the question about what is the value of transparency, though?
Yeah, I think that is, so we follow EOS. I'm sure a lot of people that you interview follow EOS. And it's been, just overall, that methodology, that business structure has been very helpful for us. But having that transparency and showing, where we need to be and where the numbers are, how we're going to achieve our goals, and then having the proper scorecards, it allows people to really understand how they're going to contribute to that based off of their role, right? So a lot of times when you say, hey, we're going to do a 50% growth on revenue. Well, what about the individual contributor that's literally writing blog posts? How does that person really understand how they're going to contribute to that big number? And being very transparent in kind of how money flows through the system and how we drive profitability has allowed us for that person to truly understand it.
Are you an Inc. 5000 CEO looking for a unique experience? My hope is that you want to take your business to the next level. You want to gather with other Inc. 5000 CEOs, which just isn't available in most of the peer groups that you're probably able to connect with. But when we get together, it's an intimate group of people that are growing their businesses. We're learning from each other about strategy, about execution, leadership, culture, and all things growth. Plus, we actually designed this to have deep conversations to get to the real issues so that you can really grow your business. And we do something fun. We take time to race Porsche 911s. You'll be paired with a professional driver, and it'll be something that you can do that's very different than you've ever done before. Join us for this event. It's invite only, but find out more details at genehammett.com/events. I know our team did some research with you, Chris, and about how the company was, aligned for growth. And you mentioned having a versatile team. What does a versatile employees mean for you?
Yeah. So when the agency started, we had this whole idea of like, hey, we're the non-agency. And I think pretty much every marketing agency starts out that way. Like, we're the anti-agency. It's so funny. It's so funny because we were saying the same thing. And then, slowly as we mature and we've done, hundreds of projects and engagements, we start to realize why the model is the way it is. So we've done a very good job of creating what we would consider multi-skilled people that can basically talk to a CMO at a CMO level from a strategic standpoint, and then have the ability to execute it. Maybe they can't execute it to the fullest, but they can pull all the pieces together in a much quicker way than you would do if you literally were just taking each of the pieces and parsing them out to the individual specialists, right? So a lot of times we get brought in to a project and it's always like, hey, we need to get to an X result. That's the kind of need that the client has. And we needed it yesterday, right? So this is very typical. So instead of taking someone through a 45-day cycle of onboarding them, getting up to speed and everything like that, we built a very versatile team so that we can literally get off the ground in a couple of weeks, right? And we've also trained, or we have a methodology where we've done this kind of agile approach to launching different types of programs inside of our business so that our customers can start feeling the value or start gaining some traction before it's all complete. And we noticed that a lot of companies in our space, they try to create the big package, so to speak, deliver it over to the customer and say, okay, we're ready to implement this. And we have found that didn't really work well for us.
What specifically didn't work well?
So what we have found is that customers have a big idea and they need our help to flush out that idea. So when you take the download of, what the goals and objectives are, and you actually start working through it, they always change, right? And if you don't have the ability to be very agile or have a very versatile team to be able to pivot, then the customer ultimately ends up not getting what they want out of the result, and you end up pointing back to the original statement of work always. And that's not a good place to point it to, because that's a moment in time of where the customer's thought process is at that time, and it evolves after they get educated and they start working and collaborating with our teams. And where it is, I don't know, a couple weeks into it is probably a better starting point. So yes, in some cases we have to rescope. Most of the time it's just, we just got to acknowledge like that we're going to adjust based off of what we've agreed upon. But being able to have a lot of people in our team that is very versatile. I mean, when I say versatile, like the whole stack. So I'll take one role, account management, account coordinator, which is more of an entry level position, to a senior account manager. Like, we're sniffing out for versatility in how we hire that entire role. We don't make them versatile as they grow through their position.
Now, an agile team is probably something that you've thought about. Do you want a team that's able to adapt and quickly change where needed and serve clients? Well, you've got to be a leader that's agile. You've got to lead by example. You've got to demonstrate this. You've got to reinforce this through values. You've got to really have the kind of conversations that allow them to understand that you're agile. If you expect them to be agile, you've got to lead the way. Back to Chris. Is this something you're hiring for, versatility?
Yeah, one of our core values is have grit and be curious, right? And so if we're not, I don't say we're not the best at interviewing to our core values as I'd like to be, where we're getting there. But if we can really hone in on those two on the interviewing process, the versatility comes out, right? So sometimes versatility is like, I might not know how to do it, but I can go and do the research or be curious enough to do the research on my own, so enough to be dangerous to get things moving forward. And then I become an expert as I do my repetition, right?
Chris, one of the things I'm known for is a lot of the commentary that I give inside the podcast. And I did an interview earlier today, so it's very recent on my mind, about how do you interview for core values? I know you said it's not the thing we do best, but what do you think the value of that is as your organization continues to scale?
I think it's extremely important. When we've done it and we've done it right, I think that it's always either eliminated a person early on in the process, or if we brought them on board, that they're a better fit, right? They've been a better fit. We haven't been able to produce the consistency in that interviewing process.
Okay.
is where, and some of that is just, I got to formalize it and put it on a piece of paper, but that's been our is creating that consistency.
I'm glad we talked about this. I mean, I really believe that values are an unsung hero amongst companies, finding alignment, people having a good experience with their work, and people contributing in, productive, effective ways. We've been talking about, a versatile team. I want to go back to something you said earlier. You mentioned the specialty. Wish clients understood the variety of talent that it takes to create these complex campaigns. And I think marketing is changing faster than anything out there, because what used to work 6 weeks ago just doesn't work the way it did. And it's always changing, and your people have to have their finger on the pulse of this. That's the reason I think it's hard for them to do it internally, because you have more cycles at it than anyone else with your team. So how do you balance the specialty with the versatile team players?
I think how we balance it is we play to our niche, right? And I think there's agencies that play to their specialty, which I think is a fabulous plan, and it's probably a much simpler business model to run. For us, we've been playing to our niche, and so being in technology, being that it's a very technical sale, being that when our technology customers land deals, they tend to be enterprise value deals, 6-figure type deals. So it's a very long sales cycle, very technical sales cycle. Us playing to our niche has been able to, it has allowed us to be experts in our space, right? And then know enough to be dangerous from a generalist standpoint to be able to pull a campaign together. And then you use the specialists, like the paid media specialists, to actually do that actual campaign. The one thing that's great about being inside B2B, and maybe it's more specifically B2B tech, is we lag what B2C is doing and direct to consumer is doing all the time. So we don't need to create TikTok short form videos. We just need to wait for TikTok to get to be to a certain size where it's ready for B2B. And we've done that. I remember the first time I pitched doing a paid media campaign on Facebook, and they were like, well, our buyer's not on Facebook. And I'm like, yeah, he is. He's looking at like what his friend ate for dinner is what he's doing. Right. And that was the beginning of that. I remember the first campaign we pitched on Reddit, and like I think the first time I pitched it, they said, we're not doing Reddit. Right. So, and maybe not TikTok. Again, like I'm not making a statement that TikTok's ready, but TikTok is there. Like it's there. The market is there. It needs to evolve a little bit more. But what came out of that is short form video. Short form video is now ready for B2B tech, and LinkedIn has also been kind of putting some stuff together where you actually benefit from creating unique short form video on LinkedIn. So that's what's great about where we sit, is we can let direct to consumer, the people selling yoga mats and, and whatever, towels and stuff, to figure out how to optimize these things. And then we can take the best practices from that and apply them into the B2B space.
Now, Chris just mentioned something you might not have heard before: play to the niche. Here's my interpretation of that. I say this all the time to people that are looking to get into the world of marketing and hire an agency. Find someone out there who really understands your industry. Find someone who understands the business model, the language, how you go about and do business. Find out someone who understands your customers, how they buy and engage, and how they, how to get their attention. If you are just going to hire an agency that's a tactical specialist, you're going to get maybe limited success. But I feel like you'll get a better solution, because these agencies that play to the niche understand the cycles at which your customers go through, and they understand how they grow and what's really the best customers for you, and they're going to be better apt at serving you. I've got many examples of this. I'm actually coaching a lot of marketing agencies to be niche players in their market, and they are seeing phenomenal success in serving their clients. Yes, their business is growing, but it's because they're servicing their clients and getting results. And if you are looking for marketing, you want to look for that niche player who understands your clients, your business, so that they get results. That is my suggestion. Back to Chris. I want to make sure we get back to the whole concept and idea of this podcast is leading a versatile team. So how would you describe your leadership style, Chris?
Yes, I wrote it is, I have a very unconventional approach to getting people curious, to make curiosity as part of their day-to-day. And I will say that it probably doesn't scale, but where we are as a current company right now, it works well. And that is really making sure that we are constantly leading people to come with answers and recommendations versus coming with their problems, right? And there's a learning curve to that, because at first they say, hey, I got this email from a customer and this is what they're saying. And the first question I ask, I go, well, what happened when you talked to the customer? And they say, well, I haven't talked to the customer yet. I said, okay, so now you know your next step, right? You do that a couple of times, and then they start figuring out, like, I need to put in a little bit of work here, and I need to help solve my own problems. And then if I need an approval or I need I'm stuck, then like, let's elevate it. And we need people, since we're a small company, we need people to really operate on their own and truly own it, which is another one of our core values is own it. And my unconventional way of kind of taking people through that journey of like, hey, these are the steps you really need to do versus me telling you how to solve the problem is worked out well to get us to the point where we are today.
I'm smiling around this because one of my core values of my company is own it. And we talk about it with our team quite often because we do believe in living the values. I also know that I'm writing a book in some way around how do you get people to feel like owners when they don't even have a financial stake in the company. And it can be done. I know it's not easy, but there's a lot of things that have to be in alignment with that. But when you have people that are owning it, what are the things that we would see in your organization that you feel like aren't being seen other places? Like, I know one thing is, if there's a problem that comes up, they're not coming to you with the problem, they're coming to you with the solution that you mentioned. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
The biggest thing is when you go through this cycle of, I guess, somewhat of like my leadership style, right? Once you go through these cycles a few times and you start to get your own rhythm, there's this, what I call the aha moment, right? And it just clicks. You've gotten your reps in, it clicks. And then the next thing you know is I just basically took something I'm accountable for, and now it's they're accountable for. And so I'm slowly moving these pieces away from me so that I can free up time so that I can continue to elevate the way that I lead, right? And so I'm constantly trying to figure out different ways to inspire and lead the company. The way, as an example, the way we would deliver kind of recognition around our core values. Like, this year, I'm really honing in on how do we really make that a woven part of our fabric of our company versus just calling out like a shout out. Like, we do a ton of shout outs. It's a very active thing in our company. Shout out to our 5 different core values. When you see people live it and breathe it, you shout it out. But I'm trying to take it, 10 layers deeper and further than that. And so, over the last 2 years, I've really worked on moving myself, removing things that I'm accountable for out into the organization so that I can consistently evolve the company as we grow.
I love all of this. Not that I need to pitch the books that I haven't written yet, but one of them is around living the values, and we go through 10 touch points. We're still trying to figure out, when do I launch this book, as if we have another one that's coming out first. But I believe in values that much. So I appreciate you sharing this with us, Chris, and talking about leading a versatile team. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Wow, what a great interview. Again, I just love having the conversations with fast growth company leaders that get it. My hope is that you enjoy it as much as I do. You keep tuning in, you keep evolving, you keep pushing in the boundaries, learn from what we're doing and saying. And if there's anything I can do to help you, we take on a select few partners every year. We work with founders and their executive teams. We work with the leadership development across the company. We do a mixture of those things. If you are curious, make sure you check out genehammett.com. Schedule your call today. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.